This is the Dog Psychology Podcast with Lynn Bokey, Todd Langston, and Art Ortiz.
Hi, welcome to the Dog Psychology Podcast with Lynn, Todd, and Art. And we have Sue back once again. Welcome back, Sue. I think you're just going to be a regular on here, Sue, because I like having the balance of keeping us in check, and specifically the crusty cookies. We got to keep those crusty cookies in check. So,
Well, I am honored to be here. Thanks again for having me.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Sue, you said you had a question, especially about what's this guy's name?
This is Shorty. And for those of you who are listening, he is a 7-pound Yorkie that I rescued from. Yep. Well, he's 7.4. Sorry.
Wow.
He's a 7.4. And I'm typically I'm like not a small dog person usually. But anyway, he is from the shelter, and he was an owner surrender, and I think I figured out why.
How old was he when he was surrendered?
11 months.
Okay.
He is not neutered, which I will be taking care of that on the shorthand. So he will. He's got a scheduled neuter. And he's an interesting case because he guards his crate. And he, like, the first day he gets anywhere, seems like a perfect dog, gets along great with all the other dogs. No issue. Greets dogs, like really good dog language kind of thing. But what he does by day 2 or 3, he claims a person. And then he goes apeshit and attacks anybody else, especially if someone happens to reach in or into what he's considered his space. Now, at my house, I manage it tightly because he's on a leash and I have a little vest. So, if I'm sitting on the couch with him, got my hand, I'm managing it. He's got an e-collar. You can see that's why I left it on. But I got him a good home with a lady. There he goes. My dad just walked outside the door. I got him a home with what's like a great family. And he just went ballistic on day 3 and attacked the lady, gave 3 bites. So what he did, he bit her hand. And then he snuggled over, oh, I'm so sorry. Ooh. And then she was like, okay. And he said he just went ape shit and bit her arm and she couldn't get him off. So
what's shit mean?
Like very physical, very hype, sort of spinning around, she said. Now I wasn't there. In all fairness, I just going by her account. So I immediately drove over there, got him, and here he is. He's back. So I thought it would be a good topic for today for you guys to talk about. All right, this guy's claiming and biting. What do we do?
The first thing that you said about the lady, he bit her when she put her hand in there, and then he snuggled in, and then she went to pet him again, and he wouldn't let go, right? Or he went on and on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the details. She didn't tell me she went to pet him again. She just said she moved, is what she said. So okay. I don't know if she would. Yeah.
So that's just a dog that's saying, "Hey, look, I'm dictating how things are going." And when he bit her hand, he said, "Okay, that's where I want you to be. Now I can snuggle." She moved again. How many times I got to tell you, woman, stop moving? So from his point of view, he's not doing anything wrong. Right? From his point of view, there's nobody in that position. So he gave it a few days. He gave it some time, said who's going to take over, who's going to dictate how things go. Nobody? Okay. Well, it's an open space. I'm a dog. I'm compelled to fill that spot. And we can't blame a dog for talking in its own language as the human refuses to communicate with them their way. Now, I know the average human doesn't understand that and they want to just pet a stuffed animal, but that's not what we have, right? So I have a dog here that I think was sort of misdiagnosed as well. I mean, it was treated very heavenly because of where it came from and all the things that happened to it, but the things it's doing have nothing to do with having the tape all over its head. It's just a dog who's like, hey, look, I feel really comfortable in my own skin and I'm going to walk around this way. I guess you guys don't want to follow me, but I don't need anybody to follow me. I'm very independent and I'm going to do it this way. But now she's starting to see, that, hey, can I come out there and see what you guys are doing? I got my ball. Nobody can have it. I'm going to fight for it. Wait a minute. None of you care? You don't care about this thing? The dog just doesn't have a filter that's made up for that kind of social interaction. And its only filter for some possession is I got to protect it with my life. To the dog, it's not crazy. This is the only filter I know. I'm only 11 fucking months old, and I don't know what else to do. So I'm just going to do this. And the dog doesn't have any idea that you picked it up and took it away. It's going to do the same thing again, but not with you. I worry about too much structure with you with the crate and rotate, that it doesn't get the opportunity to. That's not going to go away from the dog. That self-assured, it's not going to go away. So it has to be honed. Like this dog, I'm unraveling everything that it came with, and we're going to find that self-assured, confident dog, and then we're going to give it new ways to behave with that in mind, letting go of the idea that it needs to control these things. It's a whole story, but this dog's only 11 months old. This dog over here is 5 years old. So it's an opportunity. You have an 11-month-old dog, an opportunity to really help it out. And, I'm thinking this dog might be one of those good pack dogs, right? With as confident as it is. I mean, it doesn't give a shit when the big dogs running by and almost slamming into it. She just, like a Indianapolis 500, just drive through the smoke and you won't hit anything. That's all
This dog's the same way. Loves plays with all the big dogs in the neighborhood. Not a problem with other dogs whatsoever. Shares his ball with the other dogs. No, nothing there. So yeah.
So Lynn, let me ask you this. So how I great point of view. I mean, really is this is where, because so many people, I think, are hoping that you can change that part, like that I can train that part out of the dog. And there's just certain things that, to your point, I mean, that's that dog's personality, if you want to use that term. You have to work with what it's going to give you. But nobody, or I mean, the average, not even the above average person, is going to understand the concepts. I mean, what would be the type of person, or what would be the first thing you would have somebody look at and try to accomplish with a dog like that? And obviously understanding, to me, the person you pick is that alone is the most important choice made, because it has to be an energy that, it essentially can exceed that dog, but that's not used to communicate with the dog. And that's always the struggle. But what would you look for, and what would you suggest?
As far as a human, or what to do with the dog whenever the human is?
What would you suggest for the human to do with that dog?
Well, my rule number 9 is, when something's new and different, everything is new and different until a new normal has been established. So going into a new home is a rule number 9. Right. The idea is to land on the positive side of the different. And so when it's new and different, then nobody gives the dog something to do. The new normal is established. I do whatever I want. So all I'm saying is structure is critical. That's the Caesar's rules, boundaries, limitations. And I don't think people really truly understand how important a structure is into anybody's life, let alone a dog. Like, if you just structure it, and I mean, you structure the affection, you structure the play, you structure it all. And once there's a predictable pattern, then it becomes the new normal, rule number 8. We're working our way down to rule number 1, always being in control. And we're choosing, a place for it to go. Those people are choosing the dog. A lot of rescues take whoever will take the dog. But if somebody's going to take a dog that's got a self-confidence, I don't want to say stubborn, because it's not stubborn. It's a strong will is one way, but I don't even think a will is part of it. I think it's just that individual. I am like that. I am not going to fit into a lot of places and underutilized all the time. Okay, so with a dog like that, 0, I'm not going to put any, otherwise I'll repeat 500,000 times. So 0 until I can go to 1. When I go to 1, they take it to 2, 3, 4, 5, back to 0 until I can go to 1. And then they stay at 1. That's great. I give them, level 2 freedom of, and then they go to 3, 4, 5. I go back to 0 until the dog understands you can have all the freedom after you understand it's my freedom to provide. And that's where people really screw up, is that the dog doesn't follow it. The dog does this. It won't follow. It does. Well, it can't handle freedom. Well, you're the one providing it. The humans are generally the ones who can't handle providing the freedom. And then we have problems.
They can't handle not providing it. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems.
The key is that they should understand they can't handle not providing it. They should.
Yeah, but working with the human emotional system and even knowing what I know, I'll still find myself when I'm on the high end of a structured dog like the one I have here, even I battle my own psyche of going, damn, dude, all right, I want to give this dog a little bit more space.
And give it space.
A little bit more to work with, because I'm just human with that. And the average human just struggles with that beyond words. Is to keep a dog from moving is the equivalent of cruelness.
No, I'm not saying not keep it from moving. You don't like it in the crate, take it for a hike.
In any structured setting, you're controlling things for the dog. And that aspect for people just becomes very, very challenging.
This is what I have an 80-20 rule. And that's 80% of the dog's awareness is on me 100% of the time. 20% is free. Even when they're off leash and running 100 miles an hour, 80% of their awareness is on me. And 20% of that freedom in that particular event is 100 miles an hour. So, look, we are, I don't consider myself a dog trainer, but I don't even know what I consider myself. But it's not my responsibility to worry about somebody's calendar or inabilities to change their emotion. My job is to say, hey, this is what this dog needs. And you can work your way around it all you want and find somebody who agrees with you, but this is the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, ask somebody else. That's all I got to say. But
well, I think you raise an interesting point, all of you. And then think about it in the terms of a rescue. And I don't think that rescues will just give the dog to a reputable rescue won't give the dog to anybody. You do your best to find a good match and to try to figure out who will do exactly what you're saying. Like, to understand that this dog needs structure. Like, I know he gets along great with your other dogs. You're like, yeah, but that's not the point. He can't run free in your house yet. He's not ready, because he is now going to, I picked it out the day I got there. He's going to claim your husband. No, I think he'll claim my son. I said, no, I'm already telling you what's going to happen.
She's saying he'll claim somebody, he won't claim
so
my
I
husband.
So here's what I walked her through. He's got to be in the crate. He's got to go out on the leash. He can't be, he's not ready for that. He's not ready to be sitting on the couch watching a movie yet. Because then when you go to lean back, or you go to laugh and throw your arms up or something, he thinks that's a threat. He's not ready for that yet. But that's what happens.
A lot of people say he can't be on the couch, you can't be in the bed, you can't do this, with no flexibility and understanding. Sure, the dog can be on the couch, but as soon as he does something, I want you to be on the couch there. If you come over here, I'll put you over there. You come over here, I put you on the floor. That's it. It's your shot to be on the couch right now. So you take everything away, just like grounding a kid, how it should be. You came home at 3 o'clock in the morning, you lose your car for 6 weeks. The kid doesn't understand that at the end of 6 weeks, when they get their car back, that they only get to go to school and work. What? And then when they get used to that, going to school and work, then they can have their car back to go out. But now it's 10 o'clock. What? By the time they can go out all the way to midnight, they'll never disrespect the freedom of the car again. But what happens? Oh, but honey, the dance this week, we should let him go. Let her go. All right. Well, now you don't have any value. And so they either
You
you're
may have
grounded for
just
6 months and it's over the top, or if you're going to ground a kid, you don't leave them in the room. You make them do stuff that you're doing. We're going out and we're going to mow the lawn. We're going to go out and work on the car. We're going to go do stuff that we did when you cared so much about me and followed me anyway. And by the end of the 6 weeks, you have your kid back. And now you can, the same thing with the dog. Every day you can start over.
Lynn may have just identified why I'm really good at structure. I was grounded for 9 months one time.
Oh boy.
So yeah,
They followed all the
I
way
think
through
I
9
inherited
months.
the end of the 9 months. I was like, wait, what did I do again? Yeah, but structure was like the way of it at my house for sure. So that's why I'm so good at it. But yeah, no, it's a good point. And it's the idea of communicating that's really hard. Like to try to tell some people tend to think black and white, right? So to tell somebody, well, yeah, they can be on the couch, but people only hear you say, like, they don't even hear what you say after that. And keeping in mind in the minimal amount of time in a rescue situation that you have to communicate that stuff. Like you don't get to go in someone's house and do sessions and stuff like that.
But you
So,
can.
and it's not an excuse. It's just an interesting way of looking at how you communicate this concept that we're talking about here. It's like an interesting way of trying to communicate it that might be different than when somebody's paying you to come help them.
But
And
look at
maybe
him
it isn't.
too. Look at him. He's really cute. So that's going to be really hard for most people to say, I want him on the couch with me because he's a cute little Yorkie. So getting past that, because the first thing they're going to see is his picture. They're going to see his breed. They're going to see all these things. And they're like, I want this dog. Matter of fact, I had a dog very similar to this that we had. His name was Whiskey. And it was a dog that the shelter reached out to us and said, hey, we got this dog that's resource guarding food. Can you work with him? Like, of course. And so we took the dog in. This is another dog that was very good with all the other dogs, like great with dogs, not so good around food or his personal space. And so I remember that, having to build this trust and figure out a way how to reach him and how to do certain things. But the shelter, as a city shelter, they have to, if someone wants to adopt him, they have to let him go. And we said, he's not ready. Like he is not, he's going to bite somebody. I'm telling you right now, he is going to bite somebody. And like, well, someone wants to adopt him. And so they came and picked him up. And sure enough, he bit somebody. And it's just one of those things because he was a cute little dog and the girl wanted to cuddle with him and started guarding her, bit the boyfriend. They couldn't say no. The local shelter could not say no. It had to say us.
Hey, Lynn, what pressure the way that you do the pressure metrics is the desire to like be intimate, the desire to touch, the desire to come
Social.
in. Social. So it's amazing to me how people completely dismiss, like they say they love a dog and they'll go in the first 30 seconds and the first thing they'll do is something that if it was and they love to humanize it. So if it was in the human realm, they'd be assaulting them. You go in and you go into intimate space and you do all these things with them and you expect. And the other thing that cracks me up is that people will talk about how much they love a dog within the first 2 or 3 hours of interact. Could you imagine if your girlfriend came up to you, Sue, and said, "Oh my God, I just met this guy and I'm in love with him and I gave him all my passwords and all this shit"? I mean, you'd be like, "You're fucking crazy." But we do this right away. And when you have a dog like that, the same thing happens with that dog that would happen with a dude if you do it. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna let you come over, but I'm never gonna respect you, right? Because you made it wait to have that interaction, and people need to understand that everything social operates that way. This is not just this dog you're bringing in. This is a connection you're trying to develop, and if it's a strong dog and you come in with a needy way, which that social.
Well, you're talking psychological, so
okay,
emotions fall under psychological. So I would say that what your question, the answer to your question would be social psychological, because they want to be social, and it's driven. It's driven by the emotional part of them. It's social psychological pressure on a dog that's in a confined area, doesn't understand everything. It's just too much.
I think small dogs take the brunt of a lot of what you're talking about too, right? Because one of the first things, so this dog spent a month up at Vicky's before coming here. So it's been in other, whatever. So the first thing that when we got him from the shelter and got him to Vicky's is that he was like, if you went to like help, get him out of the crate because he was in an elevated format. So if you went to get him out of the crate, he was like, that's where he was biting people. And so like our first thing was like, well, we're not reaching in to get him out of the crate. We're not going to, why, we don't need to do that. Like we open the crate and he comes out. We hook the leash, and he follows us. He never bit any of us coming out of the crate.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing it at the shelter. He was up in an elevated crate.
It's a big problem because same thing with this dog. You have to look at, is it a dog claiming its crate, or is it a form of barrier frustration that it just happens where, and the more you try to do, this to a dog like that, it has nothing to do with them claiming it. Now you're creating a bigger problem than ever before. And the first day she's here, did the same thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. I was just going to shut the crate, whatever. And then she's like, and each time, I always say, you want your campfire to go out, stop putting wood in it. And sometimes it could be the claiming. But for me, from now on, I'm doing first unwind, letting it all come out. Let's find out what it is. Let's first find out if it's truly some sort of a resource guarding, or is it a confusion through the barrier frustration, all of that stuff. Why do we need to? I don't know. It's crazy.
Well,
now,
if I called it claiming correctly, it might not be that. I just figure
no,
a lot of times with small dogs, people are jamming their hands in their
You did it right, Sue,
No.
by not touching the dog, letting it out. You did perfect. Other people are the ones I'm talking about, where they see little things on social media. You got to stand your ground, do spatial pressure, which is no such thing, right? But the idea is you're doing something like that to a dog who's brand new to everything, and this is your first impression on them. Confusion, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, who the fuck are you? You did it right.
And I think everybody goes to hug. Oh, they're babies, right? And people are like, "Oh, he's so cute," like you said, and they want to hand him around. They want to put him in a bag, or and it's like, no, he doesn't want any of that. And I think the small, like that thing you were talking about, where they fall in love with the dogs, the little dogs. I feel like take a lot of the brunt.
He was on your lap. He didn't want anything to do with you. He's looking all around. This is an independent dog that needs a different approach.
Yeah.
Interesting right there too. The what you just said, he didn't want anything to do with you. I don't think too many people can see that. And that's an important thing. A lot of affection and a lot of intimacy and all these things are given when dogs are like, fuck off.
It's like masturbation at that point, because the screen isn't real, so you're just petting something that doesn't care that you're petting them, So
people I think just assume love is there because the dog is there. People need that. They need the dog. If we don't need the animal, for some reason we need this thing from a dog. Otherwise we'd get cats. Well, I'm just saying.
No, it's true. And now he didn't want anything to do with me, so put him back in his crate. And now he's there, he's howling, he's staring at me, he's going like this. He's trying to make me do what he wants me to do. It's not because he loves me. It's not because he wants to be with me. He's trying to make me do something
for
he
most
wants.
of his life, and now he's at your place, and he's just doing what has worked. Just ignore it for a while and wait till it switches from him auditory, psychologically pressuring you to open it, and it'll switch to still an auditory sound, but it'll be very social, and it'll be like, "Whoa!"
I had him not doing this before I took him to the new home. He had stopped all this, and so I have to start over. I have to completely start at ground zero and reset what I had.
It won't take long because you already established. And once he learns that you're going to hold him accountable for the way he lived at your place before, he'll fall right back into that line, and it'll be really quick because he's already done it there. And so your place is a rule number 9 to him, and he's like, wait a second, this is kind of, oh gosh, I remember this place. Shit. Patterns. Fucking Sue pattern.
Yeah. He's in crates in the same spot with the same blanket, with the, everything. It's exactly. He's got the same toy in there. He's got everything the same. He's like, God damn it.
So how are you going to adopt him out? What are you going to find for him?
Good question. Yeah.
Art,
what do you guys got for me?
I mean, ask a lot of questions, honestly, because It's one of those that it's really hard because most people are going to get a dog because they want to cuddle with their dogs. And I'm not saying that you can't do that, because I do that with my dogs. Like, but Todd had mentioned, the first thing, falling in love from the very beginning. And when he said that, I started thinking about, like, my favorite dogs of all time is Frankie. And I didn't want him in the beginning. Like, I was giving him a home, a place for him to stay so he wouldn't have to be in the shelter. And I was like, dude, don't get comfortable here because this is not your home. He ended up being the most amazing dog for me, right? And then this other dog that I found, Nogi, right? You're not going to be here. This is not, I already have too many dogs. And as she started to stay in my house, like, man, I really like this dog. So I didn't fall in love in the very beginning. We had to build to that. And when Todd said that, I was like, wow, but just like any relationship, when I think about Anne, when we first met, I just go say I love you from day one. It took me like a long
Don't
time
get
to get to that
comfortable
point.
here, dude. Don't get comfortable, Art, because you're not saying it.
But it's one of those things that can be really tricky and really difficult, because this dog is super cute, right? People have had Yorkies in the past, but this dog is very confident in what he wants and what he doesn't want. And most people are gonna want to have him right there next to them all the time. And maybe that's okay, but what if, is a single person, is someone that's never gonna have any guests? Like, what does that home look like? There's a lot of questions that we have to ask.
I think
Which,
the first thing people need to understand is that if it doesn't work out right away, you can just get one that you can snuggle with. Just take it back to the rescue. The rescue's not going to throw it in the trash or take it back to the shelter. They're going to find a foster or another home for it. People have a misunderstanding of what's going on. If I don't keep it, what's going to happen to it? Well, now you got a different sense of yourself that nobody is looking at. Like, who are you that you're the only one this dog could, but we all do it. The point is that people need to learn, or it needs to be told to them or taught to them, if this dog doesn't give you exactly what you truly want and see 5 years from now, what you truly want in the first 5 days, depending on the dog's acclimation period, you can take the dog back to the rescue and say, hey, I want to adopt a dog, but this one isn't going to work out. It's about being realistic with yourself and your future and everything, because most people just we'll just deal with it until it goes on. Well, that just starts to shape your life.
Conditioned for that. We've been told that once you have your hands on a dog, or any animal for that matter, that the only acceptable thing to do is to see it through, no matter what. And I think
but you are seeing it through. It's not working here, so I'm going to see it through.
I remember, because you know what? I remember one time, I think this phrase, I think this is something I saw you say, or heard you say, it was you're keeping the system even. You're keeping it. The whole point is that you rescued a dog. It wasn't this one, but you're keeping the system even. If it wasn't that one, it was this one. But in some weird psyche way, people see it as giving up, and that's the part that we need to get people to let go of. Is that in a very short amount of time, we're pretty good at humans at assessing a relationship. That doesn't mean we're good at accepting what we see, but I think we're good at understanding what we're in. You know what I'm saying? So they're two totally different things. And that's where I'm saying culturally, we've been conditioned to say, once this gets started, you can't quit, regardless of what you see, regardless of you brought this dog in and it beat the shit out of your other dog, bit your kid. Love is all it needs. See it through, get a trainer. And you said 5 days. I've heard Caesar say 3 days. There's a very short window that we need to see to know if this little dynamic is going to work out. But we don't think about what people say. What's the phrasing? Oh, he needs time to adjust. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but you're not giving him the time. We need to adjust them, and that's the part that we need to get people to understand. That part.
Yeah, that's where the structure is perfectly timed to imprint it. You don't have a love bug. You don't have a pally wally. You don't have a fuckstick furry friend right now. You've got a responsibility to help it get to a place where we're going to really make sure it is a home for us. And if you leave it alone out of your head and just provide the structure, everything, food, water, exercise, some play, all those things, but just leave off the extra stuff that you want until the acclimation period is done. And now you can see who you have and and really fall in love. But I don't know how to.
I was actually thinking about this the other day because people might not be able to go to the shelter and just pick up a dog and try to find out what dog is a good fit for them. What they can do is actually start fostering some dogs for a rescue to see if there's a good fit. And if it's not a good fit, then you find a home for it, so you don't have to be that one person that's like, yeah, I don't want this dog. Let me go on to the next, but you're still making an impact. So you can still make an impact.
You can be that. You can be that selfish. That you can bring the dog in, foster to adopt, and when it's there, it pees on the floor. Done. Take it back. Get another dog. Try it out. You can be as selfish as you want, but you got to be very specific. You can't let any red flag or any deal breaker through, because then it's going to, spread like wildfire.
I don't think peeing on the floor is a deal breaker, though. It shouldn't be.
It's not. But there are people that do that. The dog pisses them out.
I see.
I'm just saying it as a
I gotcha.
ridiculous
joke.
I've
had some roommates.
I misunderstood you. I was like, dude, are you going to take the dog back as a pee on the floor? They would never have a dog.
Some people are freaks that way. Why doesn't it pee outside?
You are correct.
And so they shouldn't have a dog. But that was just a wild example. But you can find things. You get a dog and everything, 90% of it's perfect. And I just wish that it would play with other dogs. That's going to be a problem for you if it doesn't want to play with dogs, and you want to play with other dogs at parks and friends' house and stuff. That's going to be a massive problem. Why are you moving forward? I don't get it.
Yeah. I think that, you're right. Fostering is great in that regard.
You can find a 1 in a billion dog that way.
So Shorty went to these people under a foster arrangement. Nobody goes into a home under adoption ever. I don't adopt dogs out. They do foster or foster with intent. And that it has to be at least a month before I sign an adoption contract. And there's a couple reasons for that. What you guys are talking about here and what I learned from you, but I've also had some bad experiences whereby like someone tried to steal a dog from us, and I had to take them to court and pay a lawyer and do all this crap. Anybody who does rescue any length of time deals with this bullshit.
Do you remember how I got Almondine?
I don't. I mean, I remember the litter. I remember where like that whole thing, but I don't.
Really that you don't, because one of the first dog interactions I had when I moved to Orlando was you brought Almondine and her brother. I forget what his name ended up being. Franklin. You brought them together. Almondine was the runt, because this was a Mastiff mix, right? Almondine was the runt. She was hiding in the back of the crate. The other one came out real kind of just goofy, kind of just came out. And the lady who was going to adopt him was there. And she was talking about her husband or her boyfriend, and that he was a dick and kind of abusive. And they left. She left with the puppies. And I go, you heard all of that. And I go, that's going to end poorly. And what you were doing was you went and stole Almondine from a boarding facility that she was left at, because the woman admitted to you that he was abusing her. And you went and
I don't remember. That's weird. I don't remember.
You took her from the boarding facility that they were being left at, because since she admitted that he was doing that, it was a violation of the contract. And you brought Almondine to the house, and she was like 10 or 11 months old. And you brought her. She was a back of the pack, kind of like just pissing on herself kind of situation when you brought her to me. That's how I ended up with Almondine was that same thing.
I don't remember. It's weird. I don't know, but that's not like sometimes I don't remember weird stuff. I think I'm just getting old, and there's I've had a lot of the longer my life gets, the more there is to try to remember. But no, I remember that she got surrendered. I remember that, and that's how you got it. But I didn't remember that detail about the abusive boyfriend or going. Yeah. Let's not admit on a podcast that I steal dogs, because then we could get down a whole lot.
You didn't steal it. You held them
breach
up
of contract.
You held her to the contract. That's exactly what you said, because she admitted that her husband was abusive over potty issues.
Right.
See?
Okay. Yeah.
Right there. Okay. Right there. Art. Pissing on the floor. It's a deal breaker for that person.
It is for a lot of people. You'd be surprised.
Maybe she's getting dogs in there to turn his attention on them instead of her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But why would she even be with somebody like that?
It's hard to, I don't like a lot of rescues love to get litters of puppies, because it's easy to adopt them. You get more money, blah, blah. I don't like adopting out really young puppies like that because I don't know the puppies. So you don't know them. Like, and how do I adopt them to the right home? And then what, like, that's tough to me. Adopting puppies out is tougher than bringing in
Vicky,
a new dog, getting to know them.
Vicky gave us a 4-week-old puppy out of the shelter through you. I think we named it Bear.
Right, yeah.
You had that
Bear.
was
Oh yeah.
remember
Bear
that?
ended up getting the best home. Yeah.
4 weeks old, legitimately aggressive. At 4 weeks old, like if you held it up like this thing would grab a hold of your face and grab you.
Yeah.
It was legit. I just happened to have a good pack of dogs at the time, and I went, here, take this thing.
Help me out. I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, he ended up living to be almost 15, Bear.
No kidding.
Yeah, and he had a great home with a great guy who sent me pictures over the years. And Bear did kill a chicken once, but the guy was like,
Hey, wanted barbecue. Somebody.
I did know what I always wondered is that, like, since I had him so early, I did like really, really strong imprints with recall, like, because he would come really good to the sound, and I've always wondered, like, if I came across him, 10, 12 years, if you could see it, because I got him at such an early age. I mean, 4 weeks is ridiculous.
He lived on a big property, and the guy like raved about him. And yeah, he may have. It's highly possible.
A mix or something.
So I don't know what he was. I don't. Yeah, I'll dig up a picture and send it to you and see if you know. I don't know, but yeah, his picture just came up like Facebook memories or something. So it's funny he brought him up, but yeah, that was an interesting one. And then the other one was the purebred Presa Canario that I got at 7 weeks old. Flex Wheeler, I named him. Remember that? And like already, so I'm kind of negating my own point I just made a couple minutes ago that you can see a lot of personality right away. Vicky called me and she's like, you need to come right now and you need to get this dog because he's going to get in the wrong hands. This guy, he's coming up to crazy, like, what's up? Hey, I'm big, I'm large, and I'm charged, and whatever. And I was like, oh, come on, asshole. Just gave him to Hannah and Scotch and Collie Mom. Let them, be like, no, 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 no. Pecking order. In like 2 months, he was like the best dog. He was a hard one to let go for sure, but he got a great home again, long life. But yeah. So I guess you can tell some stuff from a puppy, but.
How many dogs have you adopted out?
I don't know. I've never counted. That's a good question. Not as many as some people, like, Pet Rescue by Judy or some of those kind of places, but I try to do them very carefully and,
Right.
one at a time. Like, so yeah, it's hard to say, but, not enough, never enough.
Have you heard of Big Dog Ranch Rescue a little bit north of you in West Palm?
I have, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done some stuff with them. They'll have 1,000 dogs at a time. They're a monster rescue. I think it's $7-8 million a year or something. I mean, it's huge. They're always at in Ukraine bringing back dogs. They have Greyhound buses retrofitted with kennels. And, they have. So here's this is what I'll say. I say this to the people that know, and it makes sense. So they have. I think I have this number right. Have you guys ever priced out artificial turf?
It's expensive.
They have 10 acres.
Jesus.
Of artificial.
Wow.
And keep on that must be a nightmare. Just keeping the 10 acres.
They keep them in rooms, dude. They don't kennel them, so they'll have a room of like 10 dogs.
They got 10 acres
all in rooms, and it's an interesting setup, man. And they adopt out, I mean, thousands of dogs a year.
One of our listeners is a volunteer with him. Shout out to Jackie Robinson, who's a big fan of the show, by the way.
That's right. That's where I met her. That's right. I met Jackie there. It's an impressive facility. I've gone down there a few times and done different things. They have a veterans program. They have all these houses with puppies. So if a mother's about to have puppies, like you can go in and it's really kind of cool because you can see different litters and stuff. And to me, the people that work there. So I have a trainer friend that works there. You cannot be more experienced than something that involves what these people have gone through. Going down to the border in Mexico and collecting 50, 60, 70 dogs. I mean, just that whole process of collecting dogs and having to put them in something and get them out and then move them through here and get this dog next to this dog and, have this little medical intervention with this dog. That amount of dog interaction is mind-blowing to me, especially at the numbers that these guys do. So they get a big shout out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
My rescue right now is just me. I mean, it's way small scale. Totally funded by me. And yeah, so it always really was always funded by me. But yeah, so that's a whole nother level and it's unbelievable. Yeah, and Lynn, have you ever done anything like where you go where people are trying to like we talked last week about the Redlands and where they're dumping dogs and where they're trying to get dogs out of an unsafe situation that are pretty much like have been living out there a long time. And that's a whole nother thing, like a skill set to be able to get a dog, that's living out in the wild and in a safe and way that's not hurting the dog to kind of get them to trust and come in and get in the car.
Well, I think that a lot of them have to trap the dogs. They set up little traps and catch them and then bring them in. Some of them are so starved that they throw some food out and then they can catch the dogs that way. I don't know. I've never gone out and done that on a big scale. If I have to catch a dog, if I have to catch it, trap it, not with with an actual trap at me, I'll apologize later. But if I've got the time, I'll take the time. If I'm trying to get a whole bunch of dogs, you got no time. If it's on a busy street or if it's dangerous, you got no time. I'll apologize for my rudeness later. But if I've got the time and it's just one or a litter or whatever, I'll live out there until I'll come back and forth. But if I'm so far out, I'll just camp out and be there.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
Do you by chance remember that dog that got out at the DPC, that feral dog? Lynn, you might have been there too, actually. It was this dog that Zach Scow had brought over, and this dog had lived on a golf course for like 4 years, and they couldn't catch him, they couldn't trap him, and finally they got him. And then they got him a home, and he escaped the home like after a week, and then he was gone for another like 3 months or something like that.
Angela, right?
Maybe.
I worked with that dog at Angela's. It's a white dog.
It was like a small white and black dog.
Yeah, good video of me working with that dog.
Do you remember, Lynn? I mean, Todd, when the dog got out, and then we couldn't find it.
Did it conclude up by the shed up at the top of the? I remember Caesar walked up and he threw food in a certain direction, then moved moved backwards and knelt down, and then he ended up leashing it up. Was that right?
Yes, that one. And we were all watching because we're all in the tent, and like I think the students were doing meditation or something's going on, and we're in the tent watching. We were just like, oh my god.
We had to like create like a barrier, but way back.
Yeah.
We also lost one time, and we grabbed a dog and used a dog to retrieve it.
That's the one Angela. That's the one Angela had. Dakota was the dog's name, I think. That one.
By the way, the student was kind of arrogant too, and she took this dog and she's like arrogant about things, and she drops the leash, and this dog splits, and there's only one area it can get off the ranch, and it's going over that hill, and I'm running straight down the path towards the front of the ranch, and I grab a dog. I run by somebody with a dog, and I grab a dog and I haul ass up the hill, and I end up coming across Angela, and I hand Angela the dog because Angela's also closest to that other dog. And I grab and I do that, and Angela's able to use that dog to lure it back and lead it up. And I mean, that was a close one to not have. I remember I wasn't out exactly. I put pressure. What pressure did I put on her, Lynn? I went back and I put pressure on her about like you talked about your skills, but you just dropped a dog that we almost lost.
Psychological.
All right.
If you were, you guys all broke up for a little bit, so I'm not sure what pressure you put on it, but the pressure is experienced. That's the main key. And so the dog was experiencing instinctual pressure, and it sounds like you were too, because you were almost panicked. You got to catch this dog. So everything was instinctual. You basically were doing the predatory sequence there. You stalked and chased and grabbed it and then handed it off to Angela. So it was very primal.
No. I didn't hand off that dog. I used a dog and handed to Angela. Angela used that dog to catch the other dog.
Okay, so yeah, you broke up. So
I didn't have anything to do with the actual catching of the dog. I don't think that dog would have gotten near me. I think he's frozen in the middle there.
Yeah,
I'm frozen.
Okay, so there's a good question. You get a dog, right? You get a dog. This happens to people who they adopt a dog or to rescues, you get a dog and he gets out. And everybody goes, what does everybody do? They run after
Chase
the
it.
dog.
Did you just see
Yes.
Jimmy Kimmel adopted a dog named Todd? And that happened to him the first night, and he was talking about that. Somebody sent me the clip. He said the dog got out the door and he was chasing it up the street, trying to get it to come back to him.
Screaming and yelling, probably.
Probably.
So that makes the dog doesn't know you're trying to save it. You know, what the hell? And so you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing the dog further away by yelling and screaming, and your voice sounds.
What would you have told Jimmy Kimmel to do instead?
At least shut the fuck up, you know.
Well, in general, that might be the right thing to tell him to do. But anyway, in relevance to a dog running away.
Follow it, not chase it.
Yeah.
Not try to trap it. Follow it to where it stops, and then you stop. I don't care if you're 3 blocks away, it stopped and it's looking at you, don't move. You know, wait for a little bit there, let it kind of settle. If it stops looking at you and then looks around, then you can move. If it looks back at you, stop moving. If it starts running, then you can move again. But yeah, you got to stop when they stop, no matter how far away you are. If you keep moving when they stop to look back at you, oh, I gotta get a second wind going here. You got to stop with them. It's no different. Well, it's completely different. But it's no
let's
different.
say the traffic. You got to gain an angle. You got to move out.
I was just going to say it's like herding dogs.
You got a blocking situation. People tend to want to move in behind, and you need to try to find an angle to come around so that you can create, you know, some type of blocking this way. And at least, at this case, get them going back there if that were to happen.
If you got open field, that's one thing. If you got streets, you don't have any angles much to take. You know, you just got to keep up with them until they, you know, turn in somewhere.
Turning and running in the opposite direction was something like you can shift an energy, and there's times they're in flight, but just don't chase, don't talk.
Yeah, I think that works if it's your dog and they're just like out and like I know I did that with Mako once where I'm like, wait, what am I doing? And I turned around, ran the other way, and then I sat down. And now it wasn't fun anymore. He was like,
well, it depends on the proximity. If you're close and it's not that far away, you can do that exact thing. But to try and think that a dog is a block away and turn around, it doesn't even know you exist.
Oh, no. Yeah, not.
Yeah, different. I think it depends. Like, this is a new dog who does not connected to you in any way versus your own dog doing it makes a big difference. Mako was my dog by then, and I was like, yeah, he's just effing with me. He wants to play. Like, you realize that, and you realize how stupid I'm being in the moment. I'm like, oh my God, I'm running after him. That's exactly what he wants me to do. Like, what the hell am I doing? And then you like regroup. But when it's a new dog, it's a little that's come into your home, and they're, you know, yeah, it can be tough.
I was doing a radio show with this dude named Vlade, the Russian dog wizard, and somebody called in and said, hey, you know, when I open the door, my dog runs out. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe a dog doesn't like you, you know, thinking so your own dog runs away for, to me, 2 reasons. It wants to run. It needs to run. It's going, shit, I got to run. Open door. Let's run. Or I want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be here. Let's go somewhere else. And the lady goes, Vlade, why do you think? And he goes, I don't know. Maybe the woman's a bitch. No? Like in this perfect Russian accent. And it was he said the thing that out loud. I think sometimes, you know, it's a different place they want to be.
That guy's funny, by the way.
He's funny as shit. He wears purple suits and wears makeup. He's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah, I mean, how can you? And from what I understand, he's got some, there's some Russian scientist background in his family on foxes and wolves or something like that.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, so they study the domestication of foxes and how coloring and stuff changes, like in one generation of domestication.
That was a pretty old study. I mean, the footage of that is black and white. So
I've seen that. There was something that because at one point years and years ago when I first moved to Orlando, he contacted me, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm going to be at the convention here in Orlando." So it was like 2010,
the pet convincer or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he had his own little like pet corrector version. It was like a big, you know, CO2 can screwed in.
San Diego? You were at that one in San Diego? I was there.
In Orlando. This was one in Orlando, and like I said, it was 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know how he. I was doing different things at the time, so maybe he found something online and got in touch with me. He was an interesting fella, and I remember him saying something about that whole fox thing.
Well, sorry to disappoint. I'm just Sue, the crazy rescue lady. I've got bleach stains on my shirt and unkept hair. But I don't smell like pee, so I've got that going for me.
You're completely not the crazy rescue lady, because if you were the crazy rescue lady, you would have a worn T-shirt, a pair of baggy jeans, frazzled hair. You'd be 45 but look 65. Your house would be full of hair, right? It would have like crates stacked on top of crates. No, you don't have rescue hair yet. You know
No,
you can see
Keys
some of
hair.
those
We'll call it Keys hair.
people in rescue, man. You take a picture of them and what they used to look like and what they look like now. They look like that stuff on 2020 where this person started heroin 6
It's
months
like they're
ago.
on meth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like I told you guys, there's a reason for that, and everybody thinks it's because of all the dogs, but that isn't the reason.
Correct.
When
No.
I moved down here and I was burnt out, it wasn't because of all the dogs I had
It's
under
because
my
you're still grounded.
responsibility. Yeah, exactly. If my dad had his way, I would be. But no, it's because of the people I had to deal with. Fosters, the potential adopters. I've had my life threatened. I've had people try to steal stuff from me. Oh yeah, I had some lady trash me on all social media because I didn't adopt a puppy because her kid deserved that puppy. Okay,
Once
well,
you say no to
you
somebody,
know,
they just feel rejected.
yeah. I'm just saying from a small rescue. Imagine what some of these big rescues deal with and stuff. Yeah, I go to adopt a puppy and the kid is throwing rocks at the puppy. So yeah, sorry, you're not getting the puppy. You can slam me wherever you want. But yeah, so I think imagine what the big rescues deal with and stuff. So that's why they look like that.
Dude, I've been there. So I've been at these big rescues when like famous people show up and want to adopt dogs. I remember one of these situations, and I'm standing there, and in my mind I'm going, I can't believe they're going to do this. I can't believe they're going to do this adoption here. And sure enough, it didn't end up working out. But sometimes that's the downside of when these rescues get large, is there's, you have to say yes to things that, like when I stand there and watch people come and meet the dogs, and I watch how some of this stuff goes down, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to process, because you see the writing on the wall, and what do you do?
I learned
You
that
got to pay the bills.
I can't be involved in rescue because I will say no to everybody, and I end up keeping the dogs.
Right?
So I learned that after hard run into the wall many times, and then I learned I can't even foster dogs that need homes, because I end up keeping them too. So
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore at all.
It's hard. Some people say that to me. I dropped Shorty off the other day, and I was like, oh God, I forgot how hard this part is. Because then, it's like, am I doing the right thing? I know he's better here. But again, I can't have him here. And go through this whole thing, and I'm like, shut it down, shut it off. But damn, I forgot about this part of it.
This French guy I have here, and the owners have talked. I mean, one of the reasons that I ended up grabbing this dog as quick as I did is because, I mean, she was at kind of a pretty last option moment. And, I had a training appointment signed up for a couple weeks, but I'm like, she can't make it this far. It won't work out. There's a good chance, and it's like, so we're even talking about having to find a new home for this dog. And you know what I'm saying? So it's so, compatibility is the non discussed thing enough. This ability to understand if this dog is compatible for you, your family. What are your expectations? What are you looking for? I mean, if you come in any relationship emotionally needy, you better get a weak animal if you want to have some type of control. Otherwise, you're coming in asking to be controlled. And people need to know that. You know what I'm saying? It's not free to come in with this need of what you want from them and then just go, yeah, I'll give that to you. There's no cost, no charge. Yeah. I'll give you everything you need. I don't need shit from you. No charge, free.
I mean, I'm just a dog.
Yeah. Like, I mean, fuck you guys. That's the part that how do we sell that? Because if we can clear that up, I mean, that clears up the majority of issues, is that if your needs come first, you're going to have issues. If you put that, whatever your need is with that dog first.
That's in any relationship.
Well, that's the point. This is a relationship. You don't have some ownership rights to this dog. This is a relationship. It's a connection. And that's why the training thing is so pointless. And I think why we all hesitate to call ourselves dog trainers.
Right.
It's not really what it is. We're trying to get you to see what they're looking at and how they're going to see it. I like to use certain analogies like the dating analogy because there's some real clear consistencies to the way that desire or need is created. And distance does it. But humans don't get a dog and understand that distance is helpful at the beginning in some cases, especially with a dog like this, and make them have to need you.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. And that's never going to be a natural, normal thing for people.
You saw my wife trainer video, right, Todd?
No.
I was talking about like how people, you know, we're not dog trainers, right? And so like, even though if they want to outlaw dog training or whatever, it doesn't really matter to us because I'm not a dog trainer, right? We show people how to have a better connection with their dogs, right? So for example, when I with my wife, if I wanted to learn who she is as an individual, I wouldn't hire a wife trainer. I have to figure out who she is as an individual. The same thing with you know, because we have a relationship. But if I want to have a relationship with a dog, I have to understand who that dog is as an individual.
My wife's over here pointing at me like it was.
They do have wife trainers. They have couples therapy.
Yeah, but they're not called trainers. That's the thing.
Right. Well, they should be called.
My wife doesn't need training. I need to understand who she is. Same thing with the dog.
She needs
right?
to just do whatever I say. I don't understand why she's not.
Point
Who the hell invented women's shoes anyway?
Scary way, I'm just gonna say.
Paper. What the hell? I'm just playing. But
okay, so back to Shorty. So
yeah.
Shorty is now in the
another
back
word
of his
for a woman, right? Shorty.
Right.
I named him. That's what I named him, Shorty, because I knew everybody was going to want him to be their boyfriend because he's blonde and he's cute and he's walking around. Everyone's like, so that's why I named him Shorty, not because he's small. But anyway,
my Shorty.
You should name him Johnny Lawrence.
yes,
Who's
he
that?
could have a lot of
the guy from
different
Karate
names.
Kid. Remember the?
But he's in the
blonde.
back of his crate now. Fine, he doesn't need me. He's got his back to me and he's got his head away from me because I wouldn't give him what he wants.
See,
So.
but that's the thing. I had my facility over there, and well, even at the one you went to, Todd, but the one in Culver City, the one you came to, Sue, I had these, 8-foot long runs, and every dog that came in, they'd be in the very back at first, and then after a while, and they did this at the facility that you were at, Todd. They'd slowly. I had that one area over there, and then they slowly start creeping up, and then it's like they're up against a cheese grater. Cheddar cheese. Can I come out? And I wait a little long. That's social pressure. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting until it gets to the point. You don't want it to boil over, but you get to the point where it's sweet cream, and you bring it in, and there's no problem. That's what I did with this dog here. Is I just let it whine and cry. It went from barking into whining and crying, and then I just opened up the crate and the door after like 3 or 4 days, and she was running out there. She's still bossy boots, but she didn't care about the fighting. She just wanted to be with everybody. So there's a whole process that we could do.
That social desire is actually very fundamentally mechanical. It's not even that difficult when you look at the mechanics behind a lot of behavioral motivation, and that social desire to be accepted by others in social animals is a high need. It's super high need. And when you understand how to play to that, as opposed to like thinking you have to go fulfill this thing, you're actually getting them to learn how to do it. And that way it's always there. It's so much deeper if they figure out how to do it, as opposed to the common way of, I'm going to tell you how to do it or just let you figure it out. But that social is huge if people could play that out longer. And
the psychological part gets in the way. What, the dog's over there, it's so alone. And now they lose everything. The dog is...
You're so mean. How can you put him in a crate? It's so mean.
She's been out and about with the dogs, right? Cruising around, doing my familiar territory theory. And she walks through and then she walks back over to where she knows she's safe. And then she sticks her head out of the crate. She walks a little further. And then she goes back to her crate where she knows she's safe. And then she comes out and she walks through 2 groups playing and doesn't address them. Just, I made it. All right. I'm safe and it's cool. And then goes back to her crate, self-regulating through this guidance. That's why I kept turning around, because I wanted to make sure that while she was walking by, and Sugar, likes to do her punching thing, and she's like, didn't get up. She gave it a little thing, and Sugar's like, all right, whatever, you're not ready. That's the deal, is you don't flip the pancake too early, and you don't flip the pancake too late. You flip that pancake when it's just right.
Rule number 5.
Rule number 5. But in order to get there,
That's
to be a
great.
chef where you don't have to look at the ingredient measurements and all that, you have to do it a lot until you can just automatically recognize things.
Well, you also have to give it the trust and the freedom to do it, right? So it's that thing
if I
that
did it the first day, it would have been a problem.
Well, that what's control doesn't mean you're controlling it. It means that you're able to me, create a situation that works the way you wanted it to,
Yeah.
and that's having moving the pieces differently. And a lot of people want to tell the dog what to do, as opposed to moving the pieces in the way that you can kind of get the dog to do more of the direction that you want them to.
Albert Einstein said, I don't teach my students. I simply provide them the environment best suited for them to learn.
There you go.
And that's a really good key point, because anytime that I'm working with a dog, I always say I want the dog to come to its own conclusion, because when it comes to its own conclusion, then it's able to self-regulate itself and make the right decision.
That's pressure and release right there. I'll bring them to the tipping point, and then it's their step. And on a bigger scale, like you're talking about, it's their choice.
Their choice. That's the little fundamental pieces that a lot of people, even that work with dogs for a long time, are missing. And that's that one thing where they're moving the dog through it, as opposed to the dog moving themselves through it based on their conducting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's hugely different, and that's something that hopefully people can process. And it's huge. And then it's also trusting that the background stuff you do is going to change behavior. The first time this dog is in based on what its issue is at home, is I'm trying to create a repeatable feeding situation so they'll have access at home. We're using a pen. First time it went in the pen, it's short. It jumped out. Now, I didn't correct it. I didn't do anything. I just kind of put it back in. But we take it to our daily pace. This dog gets a ton of exercise, play, stimulation. It only did that once. And it's a lot of drive of unwanted behaviors are coming from things that it's just weird shit. And if you stimulate, release, eliminate energy, you create some, you keep using the word structure, which is so underutilized, underrated, that the mind itself settles down to unbelievably calm levels by the lack of choices and the lack of decisions it has to make. It creates a peace.
Mm-hmm. It does. It certainly does.
Hey, by the way, before this call, I was actually speaking to a child psychologist, and we were just kind of chatting. And one of the things we were talking about was, if a child, let's say, is testing a boundary, right? Let's say, I don't know, there's a mug on the glass table, and you say, hey, don't move that mug, and they kind of just grab it and they move it a little bit. And basically what she said, this child psychologist said, she's like, the fact that they are pushing that boundary is because they are asking for a boundary, because there's no clarity. And so, we're talking about creating boundaries and all these other things, is that a lot of times the behavior that the dogs will show is because they want more clarity on what that boundary is.
That's
this last 5 minutes has been gold, by the way. If anybody makes this last 5 minutes, this is the gold section right here.
Make your announcement about that. So, when you post, don't miss the last 5 minutes.
Totally, that needs to be on the tagline. My mom's best advice to us was, you take up the knickknacks, or you teach your kids not to mess with them. Right? So you take the shit off the table, or you teach your kids not to mess with the shit on the table. It's your choice.
Well, they used to do that in the beginning. My dog keeps chewing up the remote. I go, where do you keep it? And they put it there, and I go, okay. There you go.
Problem solved.
Well, the quote I heard that I really liked is, if you're going to be dumb, you better learn to be tough.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Well, hey,
that was a great example, Art, because that's exactly what you do with a dog like Shorty, right? I gotta create boundaries and stick to them. So it goes back to structure and consistency.
It doesn't need to be punishable; it just needs to be repeated. It just
exactly.
For me, especially in the beginning, before I set all things to permanent mode, the consequences are the education. That's it. Well, we're doing it again. Okay, well, you gave it your best shot. That's not how we're doing it. We're going to do it this again. And if you've ever seen a kid, I don't want to do it again. Yeah. Once they do it and they get it right, then it's all good. It's starting to rain. But yeah, the consequences for me teaching the dog anything is the education first. Of course, if it's, you got to match the intensity and or sensitivity. So somebody can see me doing something with one dog and say, you said your consequences were the education. Well, this dog is, he's trying to kill me. I'm not gonna, so the consequences is still the education. I'm not going to die here, and you're not going to be the one. But I'm not mad at you. I understand how you've been living. I want to know more about it. I want to see how you've been perceiving life before I arrived. And that's okay if you bite me. I get it. Any heroin addict, meth, alcoholic goes into detox, they're going to spit, kick,
Rescue
bite,
person.
call their mom and dad bad names. It's just the detoxing. They've had a way to these people who aren't dog trainers, but to say they do dog psychology or they do balance training, and they just come in and heavy hand force the dog right out of the gate. This is how it's got to be. You can't let the dog do that. Well, you got to let them unwind. I've been doing this for 3 years. I can't stop smoking today. I can't stop drinking coffee today. I can't stop drinking alcohol. I can't stop these things today. No different than any human would be expected to do right now. It's unacceptable to me.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah.
All right. This is a
before
good
we go,
ending point. Yeah.
Here's the ending point. I want to just a few minutes here. I've wanted this podcast to happen for a long time, and very happy that it finally happened. Love it. Unfortunately, I think that I'm going to have to bow out of this one. I think that you guys will be much better off once I'm gone. There's nothing bad here, nothing at all. This is all positive. I think that this will shoot up after I'm not here, and it's not because anybody's bad or wrong. I just think that I tried it on. It doesn't fit very well. No matter how much I want it to fit, I gotta really look at that and say it's not fitting. And I think that Art, you're gonna shine more. Todd and I have such similar, energies that it kind of suppresses you in the mix. I think this is a perfect time to have Sue on here. She can be my replacement, and it will be exactly what it should be, with the right energies and softness and hardness and giddiness. And you guys will be able to have everybody from TCW. You guys will really flourish after this, I think. And I just think that I think it's just the right thing to do for everybody involved. Look at your faces. This is not a bad thing. This is a free thing. This is a freedom.
Well, I don't know. Last week you said, remember we were going to be recording at 3:00 and we all couldn't make it. And you said, because I said, well, we can just do it without Todd, or I can't remember what it was. No, without me. I said, you guys can do it without me. Just go ahead and and you said, no, we do with everyone or nothing at all. And we did nothing at all. So just leaving that out there.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. Are you trying to make it a bad thing?
No, I'm not trying to make it a bad thing. I'm just saying.
I said that last week. That was about the topic at the time. Yeah, sure. But this is something I've been thinking about for a long time. And it's just, I believe that it's the right thing to do. I think that, there's no negative here, but I don't, if we do look at a negative, it's not a negative to you guys. I just don't feel like I should be apologizing for, talking too much or talking too deep or whatever. And I feel really weird that I'm constantly saying, oh, sorry. I have one more thing. That's not the reason. The reason is because I believe that it's off balance. And I think that if we just look at it logistically, once I'm gone, then Todd and I'm telling you, I do this for a living with energies. And I'm telling you right now that you guys are going to shoot straight up.
Well, we can let the listeners decide. We'll put a poll on out there to the listeners.
I've decided. This is my thing, and it feels very good to actually speak this out loud. I think a lot of people in their relationships hold on to something that is a minor problem, but becomes a bigger problem that's never addressed. And then it becomes a thorn, and then it becomes infected wound from the thorn. And then there's resentment from everybody and half the people are like, I don't even understand what happened, because people hold on to stuff for too long and they don't let it out. What was that?
I have no idea. It's your celebration.
You guys are excited to get rid of me. What was that fireworks thing?
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck? No, this is
it's a grand finale.
Yeah, it is. I really think that this is the best thing for you guys and me. I think that I'm slowing it down, and I don't know how to say it exactly, but I think I'm a kink in the hose, and I'm not saying that anybody is bad. I'm not saying I'm bad or wrong. I'm saying that I will flourish, I think, too, once. I just think that it's hard to put everything in 1 hour with 4 people, and 2 of them like to talk all day long. You know, I don't think it's real fair to Art to see him sitting there like
I was sick last week, by the way.
You do it all the time. Fuckstick, you know what I'm saying? Fuckstick, by the way, anybody heard that? That's a term of endearment. I call my very loved dogs fuckstick.
I hope it's not because of my joining, because bringing on a fourth person.
Time that you came on, because I think that you would be the perfect mix here. The 3 of you, that it's perfect. I literally nothing bad. I just don't think that it's I've got tons of shoes that don't fit right, but they look cool, and I that's what this is. This is a really cool pair of shoes, but for whatever reason, my feet are uncomfortable. I'll wear them and look good, but I won't wear them to look and feel comfortable. Does that make sense? And I don't
Not to me, because I would wear shoes if they looked cool. I'd wear them till my feet bled. But okay,
right.
I get what you're saying.
I'm also going to be 56, so I don't do that anymore at all. But yes, that's what I used to do. Please don't take there's nothing to be concerned about or worried about. I honestly believe that this is probably the best thing. Yeah. I mean, if we go all the way, you'll be able to have Caesar on. I mean,
well, that was not what I was expecting, to say the least. But I can feel what you're saying. So I appreciate the courage, the honesty.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Everything. Well, I was going to say, I'm honest all the time.
Yeah, but that's part of it.
Yeah,
that's part of the whole thing. I mean, to Sue's point, and so.
Well, that's another thing. It's too difficult for me to see something and not talk about it. And it's nothing to do with anybody. I just think that it's not the right fit because of that. If I see a problem, I got to let somebody know about it in that description or story. And I can see that brevity is more of a value in a show like this for an hour long. It's not something where you can just talk. It's not a Joe Rogan thing where we're going to talk for 3 hours. It's an hour, and I have a challenge in being brief. So I accept that. I accept all of my quirks and all of my issues that I've had with people over the past, and in my quirks, I accept it all now.
The feeling I have right now is exactly the way I felt when David Lee Roth left Van Halen. I'm just going to say that.
Okay. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I mean, that was a bummer. But they were growing apart.
No, they were
We
never
aren't
the same again.
They were never the
Let's
same.
face
We
it.
aren't growing apart. I just think that we're trying to fit something in that, uh, that it won't fit. If that makes sense. Don't try to make too much sense out of this, guys. Just
All right.
understand that I truly believe that it's the best thing all around. Believe me, I've wanted this podcast for a long time.
Well, to your point, if this continues, then we'll have you back as a guest, and then
There you go. I'm better as a guest. But yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for it must be the good looks for the David Lee Roth reference, right? My rugged looks. Right?
Early David Lee Roth. He looks pretty rough now, so.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Looks more like
He looks like he's been doing some rescue.
Yeah. Well, he is older, right? He's like 75 or something, isn't he?
Who knows?
I don't know.
All right. Well, didn't expect this, but yeah, we'll
Stick around for the last 5 minutes, people.
Yeah, no, not this 5 minutes. Maybe go back 20 minutes ago. All right. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a weird one.